Hey, everybody, welcome to What is the Ask? This is our, I don't know, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth show. Does anybody know?
We're rolling, okay.
Yeah, I gotta go back and certainly count that up. But welcome to What is the Ask? And this is a group of friends in Atlanta and Tampa, two critical cities in the election cycle. And I thought it was a good idea that we come together and we talk about the Black vote and the impact of what's happening politically, economically, educationally to Black folks, and the impact that it has on a collective Black vote is something that we don't talk about enough. So 5 friends actually decided to get together, and twice a month we come together and we talk about the issues and their relevance to our community. So what do I have on my mind these days, guys? Damar Hamlin last night playing football, Monday Night Football. Damar Hamlin plays with the Buffalo Bills, and he suffered cardiac arrest right there on the field. Shocking, shocking, shocking. A Black brother on the field, and as the commentator said, living the American dream, pursuing the American dream. I had a little bit of an issue with that because that tends to be when it comes to sports and entertainment, but in this case, sports, that's where the pursuit of the American dream seems to focus in on those type things. But when you look at football and the nature of the violence involved, why is that a surefire path for Black males? So tonight, folks, I have with me Albert Fields out of Atlanta, Alton Drew, also out of Atlanta, and my sister, Celeste Johnson, Mona Johnson, here in Tampa with me. And we're going to talk a little bit about pursuit of the American dream and the paths that Black males or Black folks tend to take, and the path of white folks. And the example that I have of the white pursuit of the American dream, now don't laugh, is George Santos. Anybody know who George Santos is? Well, he's that congressman-elect out of New York that has lied his way into public leadership, political leadership, and will likely be seated this week, if not next, depending on their ability to decide on who the speaker will be for the Republican Party. But he has lied his way and positioned himself where they can't do anything about it because they need his vote. But it's a typical pattern of pursuing the American dream for one group of people and certainly not for the other. So I'd like to kind of talk about that pursuit of the dream with these 2 examples, and we can kind of compare, contrast, and look at really what is the ask? What should Black people be doing to change the paradigm, to shift the paradigm? Hey, Albert, what do you think?
Hey, my question is, I had to go look up the definition. What is the American dream? And it's about equality and opportunity is what the dictionary is saying now. But
wait a minute. The dictionary says it's about
equality and opportunity. It says the ideal by which equality of opportunity is available to any American, allowing the highest aspirations and goals to achieve. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so the Kennedys live the American dream. The Rockefellers live the American dream. The Roosevelts live the American dream. The Carnegie and his family live the American dream. And how did they come by that equality?
Well, you didn't say the Trumps.
Trump didn't live American dream. He stumbled.
He stumbled into
a dream.
But what makes you think that the others didn't stumble as well? Let me just I'm going back to my original premise of lies and deceit to get to, which they use and they have used skillfully in the age of no internet. Now that the internet is here and 24/7 cable news, it's harder for them to deceive the people. So I'm saying you need to add the Trumps in. The Trumps just have a little bit tougher time concealing all of that, all of their shenanigans.
The Kennedys,
Yeah.
the Kennedys bought their way, and anybody knows they were rum runners. They were
Yeah.
dope dealers.
Yeah,
Roosevelt, dope dealers.
hello.
You know,
Mm.
and they bought their way into the White House. They had inside connections. They even knew the exact time that the prohibition was going to end. So they had their liquor stings already sitting outside the speakeasies. And when they lifted it, they were the first ones in. And when they walked out of there, they owned almost a quarter of the country.
Mhm.
You know, so more lies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And let me take you from the Kennedys back to the Trumps, whose grandfather or his father, I think, started out with brothels, I think it was. So we're talking, the more information the people have,
Yeah.
the harder it is for them to get to the pinnacle or the top without a whole lot of scrutiny. And I'm not sure that the scrutiny is working because Santos is being seated in that seat.
Well,
In the name of power.
I mean, and Alton will tell you, he didn't violate any rules to get elected because he qualified. And the qualifications are basically be a member of the United States, you know, be a member of the state where you want to run, and be of over 20-something years old.
Yeah.
So he qualified. There's no reason to take him out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can lie all you want. It's just unfortunate that he lied the way he lied. And that the Republican Party now are just lowering their standards. They're never gonna put any pressure behind him to step down because they can't kick him out. He will have to resign.
That's correct, but Mona, you said you can lie all you want. They can lie all they want. We can't lie all we want. We can't. And as soon as we are caught in a lie, we are out of there. Come on with it.
Well, and it's not so much, which is true, but what they would get is mostly Black people will put the pressure on us.
That's right. Because
You know,
we won't
we will
even.
put, yes, and they're gonna stick together. Now, they don't agree with it, but they're never gonna come out publicly and say it.
But you're right. We are probably the ones that will be the loudest on our own folks to kick them out.
Yes.
And
Now, but see,
happening.
think about that. If we believe in truth, justice, and
Under
equality,
Mm.
then we have integrity. Yet the way you're explaining it is almost like you're saying we are just hard on us just to be hard on us, when we're really saying we want you to be qualified so that you represent us, so that when we see you standing there with your head standing tall, we can stand tall with you.
That's right. And
But if
that's what we are saying.
yeah, but if we know we got a liar up there, we tend to want to go, ooh, hurry up and get off that stage. You know? So
Yeah.
we've got the integrity in this now, but the question you need to be asking is how important is integrity? How really
Yes.
important is integrity in this game called politics?
It's not.
It's always
And
been
It's
for
not.
us.
It's
I'm saying
not.
it's not that important. Sometimes we want to hold the bar too high for ourselves, but we'll give the oppressor people a little bit of leeway.
But
in-
we
in-
always,
in our race,
we
say,
always
"You gotta
hold
do
the bar
this, you
too
gotta
high.
do that." And then, like I'll just say, like our chief of police here. You got Black people saying, "Oh, she deserves a second chance. Oh, let's not be so hard on her." But time you screw up, you got to go. I mean,
Yes.
it's crazy.
But
can't-
now she did screw up and
And-
she had to go. But
that
she only had to go because the internet went crazy
Yes.
and she was not able to sustain, and Castro had to get her out.
Yes.
Alton, you're trying to say something. What's up?
Oh, okay. Yeah. The integrity issue, going back to Albert's earlier point, I call it the Clinton point. Clinton said the same thing about Obama in 2008. Is he qualified? Yeah, he's over 35 and he's a citizen.
Mhm.
So, and you look at the Constitution, look at God. This. How thin it is. This is the
You one of those
Constitution.
Constitution in your
Okay, you
pocket.
carry.
No,
Constitution in
I
your
got
back
three.
pocket.
I got 3 copies here, but yeah, I started walking with them. I got them from a congressman, Roscoe Bartlett from
Mhm.
Maryland. We were at the Republican state convention, and he always carries one.
Yeah.
And but I got these from Cato. But the short of it is, and I was thinking about this earlier, not in regards to the Santos guy, but this says nothing about morality.
Yeah, right.
It says nothing about integrity. If the system was meant to judge candidates based on integrity, they would have added it. The men that wrote this came out of a time where integrity be damned. You're coming to create a brand new country. You're clearing out the Indians that were here. You were running rum from the West Indies to the Americas. You're doing all kind of nonsense, and then to break away from Britain, then call for integrity. It called for making a smart play.
Right.
These are the kind of men that these guys were Vito Corleone before we knew Vito Corleone.
That's a good way to put it.
This is who they
Yeah.
are, and it's passed down. And I'm not trying to make light of it, but people need to look at this in its reality. And and going back to blacks, if we should not, we take it seriously because the system has dumped on us.
Yes.
But when it comes to the reality of it, we can't go around using words like moral and the right way, and Jesus wouldn't like this if he was alive. No, that's not the reality of this system.
No.
Now, if we play the game the way they play, we get bricks, stones, everything thrown at us, and we get run out, our own people run us out and what have you. But this is an important lesson in how you actually navigate the reality of this, what to expect. I mean, I saw the guy's name trending in Twitter, and with Twitter, you just can't click on in Twitter. You got to get outside of Twitter and look in the news because it's very biased on Twitter. I said, who the hell is this guy? And I'm like, okay, he lied. I'm used to that impact where I applied for a job at the Florida Public Service Commission, and I had the experience, but I got beat up by this other guy. His race shouldn't make a difference, but let's call it what it is, or by a white guy. They find out that he didn't have any of the experience that he put on his application. He straight out lied. And I won't lie, I enjoyed the guilt that was coming off of these people who hired him. Every time they walk by me in the hall, oh, hey, Alton, how this?
But he still got hired.
He got hired, but he got fired.
Oh, he did get fired.
Eventually
Okay,
got
that's
fired.
unusual.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
that's
unusual, right?
Yeah.
But in the case of this guy, he's qualified for the position. He's over the age of 25. He's a U.S. citizen. Those are the only things he has to prove. That's all he needs. Now, is that important also? Is that important for legislating? Hold on, people. Here it comes. No, these
Right.
guys don't deal in truth when it comes to they get a again, not a personal experience. We go up on the hill, this is back in 1995, and we're pushing what would become the Telecommunications Act of 1996. And we work for the state. And we're just trying to make sure that our concerns are met. But this piece of legislation is now 27, 28 years old come February. So I guess the statute of limitations is over. No one in government wrote that bill.
Sure.
It was written by industry, and
Right,
we're just trying to
exactly.
make sure our stuff was in there. So for people out there who actually believe, oh, these politicians have our best interests at heart, and they're working so hard to write up, blah, 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 lies. The minute these guys got sworn in today, I guess around noon, they're going to be on the telephone tomorrow raising money.
Yes, yes.
So black folks are screwed.
No.
We're so into the golden rule. I mean, we've assimilated in such a way that it
Yes.
keeps us out of political power because we hold ourselves to a standard that they don't even pay attention to.
So now the question is this: should we work toward learning how to play this game so well that we become a better liar, or should we get a new
Mm.
game?
That's a hard one.
In the immediate term, not so much a better liar, but appreciating the lies that you're going to get hit with. If you anticipate the lie, you can still roll truthfully. It's just that you won't get caught off guard.
So we can do, so to your question, and I think you're absolutely right, Alton, kind of hitting on Ken's point a few sessions ago, we changed the game and we create rules that now they have to follow. So,
Yeah.
so we don't join them.
No.
We anticipate the lies and we are ready for them, but we move the country in a way that is more like we are. I mean, Black people are honorable. The only reason that we are in prison and all that other junk is because they set us up to be hungry, where we have to steal for our stuff and fight and kill for our stuff rather than earning it like they do.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you right there. I was hoping you were not going to go there. They ain't earned nothing. They're
that's
bigger
true.
thieves than we are.
Well, I don't
And
mean, I
many-
don't mind being checked on the
No,
word
no.
earning.
Well, yeah,
I'm
I'm
good.
gonna have to check you on that, because if you think
Yeah, I don't
about
mind
it,
being checked on that.
many,
Check me now.
yeah, many of these young kids are in jail. Hold up, they just let out about 10 in the last 2 years. They let out 10 Black men who have been accused of something. They've been in jail for 25, 35, 45 years,
Yeah,
and they found out they weren't even in the building. In
right.
one case, the guy had 2 or 3 witnesses where he really was, and they
Yeah.
ignored them just so they could put him in jail.
Yeah.
So no, they're not helping. We're not helping ourselves go to jail. They are putting us in jail while they do the stealing, and then they
Okay.
steal even more.
I'm good with that.
I'm going to beat you. That's what I said. So don't say they doing anything all that great. Shoot, let me tell you, Oklahoma Sooners. You know why they call them Oklahoma Sooners?
Why?
They were
Mm.
giving away land out in Oklahoma, and it was supposed to start like at noon on, let's say, tomorrow, just for the sake of this example. And they got to the line, and some of them said, I ain't waiting that long. So they went out sooner than the starting point and had already staked out their land. That's where the Oklahoma Sooners came. So they steal everywhere they go. You know, it's the lie we get into of believing
That's the thing.
that they have some honorable means, but they tell you,
They lie,
they lie.
they steal,
They
come
steal.
on, they
They
kill.
Yeah.
All of those things that we look down on each other about, but they're doing it every day, and then they do the blind eye. They
Yeah,
don't
Well,
see-
here's the funny part. Just to add some, not gravity, but the opposite, just a little lightness. Why do you think that gangster flicks are like on the top AF500
Oh, yeah.
movies?
Yeah.
Let me see. The Godfather,
Yes.
Goodfellas,
Yes.
Once Upon a Time in America. You say,
Yes.
all the great movies that they respect theft.
Yeah, they
They
do.
to the point where, honor, there's honor in thieves have honor, there's honor in blah blah blah.
This is what they
respect-
do.
That's
Who,
what they
who
do.
is the god of thieves? Al Capone.
Al
Okay.
Capone.
Everybody talks about it. Everybody wanted.
Yeah.
When I was little, you
The
wanted to be like
Untouchables.
Al Capone,
Be
because
like
that
Al
was the
Capone.
way it was portrayed. This was really just a good guy doing what good guys do, just happened to be stealing a little
Oh
bit,
my
killing a little
God.
bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, Al Capone was big dog. And in fact, they will tell you to this day, they never could get him
That's
on
right.
They
any
got 'em on
charges.
tax evasion.
And they
Tax
found a sister, actually a sister in New York, put together some racketeering charges and figured out that he had these prostitute things. And once he had prostitute, he wasn't claiming any revenue. And that's how they got it. That was
Yeah.
the start of it right there. So no, Alton is right. It is good to be, what's that guy, Scarface?
Scarface.
Let
Al
me introduce
Capone.
you to
Yeah.
my
my
little
little friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot, for a while, everybody, all the kids was running around shooting at each other, talking about, let me introduce you
It's you to my
to my
little
little
friend.
friend. know, America is built on brute strength,
Yes,
and when you
Violence.
can't do it the other way, you steal.
you
Yeah,
still,
it's extremely violent, which takes us back to football and Damaris. Why when we talk about success for Black folks, it's on the football field, and that is absolutely violent. When I watched the play that took him down, that's happening
I know.
all
Wait a minute,
day, every
I
day.
didn't see it. So did he hit the guy hard? Did the guy hit him hard? What happened?
I
It
think
was-
It was a normal hit.
Yeah,
it was a normal hit. It just
Normal hit.
happened to be the perfect storm at that moment where
Yeah.
the the heart electric, whatever was hitting at the, it was
Yeah.
it was a normal hit.
Yeah, it was clean.
No big,
And
no
it
big
just-
deal. And so,
it could have happened to anyone.
Okay.
It just happened at a time where his body was doing, his heart was doing certain things, and bang.
so the NFL is saying now, we don't know for sure if the hit had anything to do with his
Right.
situation.
That's smart lawyering.
Yeah,
You- you-
that's what I was
it's
gonna
smart
say.
lawyering.
See, so they're already using the
That's what we're hitting.
justification.
That's what
and
we're getting.
Then
Yeah.
you're getting into that area again. Here come the lies. They get into there. But in reality, when that man said he's living the American dream, what was he saying? Black boys have to fight their way out of the ghetto. The
Yeah.
best way for them to
Right.
fight their way out of the ghetto is to be a
Yeah.
professional football
Football
player,
player.
be a
To
professional
use
basketball
brute
player.
strength, right?
Yeah,
And then we'll
yeah.
pay dollars to go out and watch them beat each other up and whatever else.
So they-
I'm not liking it.
Okay, so they wind up being Spartacus in the Colosseum with all the Romans up here cheering for them as they kill each other off.
And making lots of money.
Yeah, well, a lot of them don't get a chance to spend it.
Mm.
I
That's
met
true.
a guy in the airport in a wheelchair
Mm.
several years ago, and I was talking to him about what happened and all that. Professional football player. He's on the return team. He catches the ball, somebody hits him, and when he gets up, he can't walk.
Yeah,
And now he's in a wheelchair, and he wasn't making that much money.
Right.
right.
Because all the money was supposed to come down the road after so much of this was made and all of that made, and there he is, wheelchair. But it's stories like that every day, that you gotta look at to say, you gotta decide. You gotta have some other way to decide.
It's stories like that every day, but anybody know what happened to Warren Sapp?
No, I didn't.
No, what happened to him?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
When
Whatever
did you
happened
hear?
to
When
Warren
did you?
Sapp?
When did you? Oh, he's still
Oh,
around.
he's
Well,
around.
what is he doing? So I'm curious about when our gladiators are no longer
Yeah.
gladiating, what happens? What are they doing?
I
These
saw him.
politicians go in and they figure out how to make a whole lot of money, and then they get out of here and start becoming lobbyists and whatever else.
Yes.
I'm curious what happens to our football players after that 3 or 4 years of good play on
Okay.
average. Then what happens?
So
you
let me.
either if you're staying in this, from what little I've seen, like Sapp, to get to your question, the last time I saw him, he was doing an interview with Michael Irving. I think they were talking about last year's Super Bowl and that kind of talk show in a living room, just relaxed. But he looked fine. But yeah, from what little I know, these guys, if they can hang around the game and be some kind of coach,
Commentator.
which is, I think that's tough to get in. I mean,
Okay, well, he is a
Amazing.
commentator according to
Yeah.
Google. That's the beauty of Google today. So he is a commentator
Mhm.
/ sitting around in a boat fishing all day long.
yeah.
Okay, so he's living off of his money that he earned
Mhm.
years ago, I guess. And some of them do, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
hoping that at least he has something to live off on, because I think some of them don't.
Well,
Yeah,
if you stay in over 5 years, I believe it's 5, 6, or 7 years, they get a retirement as well. So
5 years. Yeah, I know a young man who's coaching
Sapp
in
gets
St. Louis now. Yeah.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
get a considerable amount, but very few go on to be commentators because it's
Right.
only so many people aren't going to give up
Right.
those jobs, or they could do coaching. But what I think what we have to do is a better job at helping them, because we're never going to get rid of football. Is they're not going to let it go, and having a plan B for them.
I thought the NFL was already doing something similar after a lot of pushback. I don't know how successful that is. Personally, I've only met, well, I've met a couple players. I know one's a friend of mine, well, former player, married to another friend, and he coaches at a major university.
Mm,
So, you know, he was able to, what's the word, matriculate.
yeah,
into
move
that.
on to do something else. Yeah.
But those,
yeah.
but going to Mona's point, those positions, those opportunities are really small.
And you
Yeah.
know, very few, because they generally don't graduate from college. And that got to be the first thing. You got to get a degree. You got to go to school and have something to come back and walk back into once this career is over. Like I knew a lot of the Bucks in the 80s, and 4 of them, I mean, they're back living in their hometowns, living at their mother's house that
Really?
they
Hey.
built, that they
Hmm.
added on. Didn't really move them out of that area, but they just might have added on to that, and they're broke.
But
It's
see,
sad.
So,
It's sad to see
so,
it.
so
That
if
was-
you're looking, if you're looking at DeMaris Hamlin, and he is there because of his skill.
Yes.
He was born with a skill that was nurtured, and he made it to the NFL. And I don't
Yeah.
think he was first string. He's just kind of coming in second or something like that. But
He said 6. He came in 6th string, but you know, it's his second year. He's supposed to be doing very well.
he is doing extremely well, and he can't lie about his talent. It is
Nope.
there. He either
Yes.
has it or he doesn't. And that's true for any Black man who goes that route. There's no lying and cheating there, you know,
Right, yeah, that-
what have you. But
Right.
the honesty around natural talent that's nurtured is there in your face. You either got it or you don't.
Right.
okay, okay, so,
These other paths, you can lie your way through, and they will give you the pass all the way through, and you become president of the country. And sit in the, so I'm saying there is an inequity there with regard to Black men, the pathway, and white men. White men will lie, but as soon as the Black man lies, to your point, Mona, Black folks first will step in and say, we're not supporting that, we're not having that.
Mhm.
And the white man will certainly throw him out or throw him in jail or penalize him in such a way that he can't come back. But they always come back, they always survive. And it's through a path that has nothing to do with physical prowess.
Right.
It has to do with their ability to deceive and for people to believe it and for them to rise to the top. And then the longevity in those positions is astronomical. And if they get
Right.
kicked out, they always have a way back in somehow, because they're always allowing them to come back.
Well, I think
There
it's
is
how
no
they,
path like that for the Black man. And that's the point that I'm making in terms of pursuing the American dream. There are different standards in place for both limited pathways and then the honesty of what you bring to the table. It's scrutinized in such a way that the Black man has little chance of moving forward, and the white man doesn't matter.
I think in the lane that white males take, I mean white women too, but especially since I'll use a liberal word, since we're in this patriarchy, right?
All right, I'm good.
You're okay. But yeah, for them, it's well, you know, I've known Chad for 10 years. We went to Yale together, and even though he screwed up, you know, let's give him a couple days, and then we can figure him into something else, because to throw him out looks bad on me and looks bad on the network. So the network has to prevail.
But why am I so quick to throwing you out? Me and you, Black.
We're not a part of the network.
no,
We could take an example. What was that guy named Testaverde?
Yes.
Yep, Vinny.
Vinny Testaverde, how they just wasted, and they kept trying to give that guy a chance. I have not seen them do that to one, but he looked like them. He looked like their sons.
Yeah.
They felt the empathy for him, compassion. They wasn't going to destroy him. He had already embarrassed himself, and they kept pulling him in. And what
They
did he?
kept-
See,
Yeah.
here's the thing about Harvard and all the Ivy League schools. It has nothing to do with their intelligence. It has to
No.
do with their network.
Then
It has to do with their ability to almost inbreed. You got cousins and uncles, and
Yes.
aunts, and you got friends, and you grow and you keep that circle. And therefore, if you get into Harvard, they're going to try to help you graduate, even if you're stupid.
Yeah.
A la George Bush.
White people. You're talking about white folks, not
Yeah,
black
well,
folks.
anybody
well.
now. That's why it's
I
been so
still
hard.
would argue it'd be
Anybody,
anybody.
because it's so hard. That's why they're so hard, and that's why they try to keep you out. That's why they don't let you in, because they want to maintain the culture, that fantasy of their intelligence, when in reality, like I said, it's about their ability to inbreed with each other and use that connection to help them move from one place to the other.
Yeah.
There's a book out on it called The Big Lie or The Big Test. I don't know which one. And it exposes that whole fallacy. And they said, and this is what caught me off guard. They said Harvard used to be the place where all the guys went to drink, get married, and play football. And all the ladies used to go to get married and become baby makers for the guys that got drunk and drank. So it wasn't about the intelligence, and they created this myth. We call that going to the Holy Grail when you can go to those Ivy League schools, when they created that specifically for the rich white boys and their families to perpetuate it and keep it going away from everybody else. So yeah, that's back to the lie again, the big lie we've been talking about.
And when you think about, especially those Ivy League schools, and I could be wrong, but yeah, the professions that require a lot of networking, law, medical school.
Yes.
Now Harvard has the Kennedy School of Government. These are all your softy human, shake your hands. Hey, bud, pop on the back. They're not, you don't know them about engineering. You never hear anything about chemistry. We have to do some real work. Those guys aren't known for that.
No.
Yale, Colgate, all them guys, they're not known for that. They're known for going to Albert's point, that networking stuff. Oh yeah, he went to Harvard, and we got a case, blah, 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 blah. That's them. And they're making top money. And they've got top, what they call endowments.
Right.
Based on all that networking. Yeah.
Right, and they can make no mistake that would not be excused by that network.
Yeah, they're gonna publicly admonish you, but at the same time they're gonna rehabilitate you. And next thing you know, it's like NFL coaches. Oh, he was a crappy coach with the Raiders. Then he's on the sidelines for the Rams or up in the box as a coordinator. And then a few years later, he's a head coach again. They just recycle you and spit you back out, because they can't afford for anyone to say that washing machine is really screwed up.
Right.
No, the washing machine's got to work.
Right.
It's got to work.
Exactly.
But we say that washing machine is really screwed up, and then we just throw it out.
Yes.
We
No
throw it
second
out.
thing.
But that's back.
But that's a problem. That's a problem within our own.
No,
Yes.
it's back to that
So-
issue of integrity again. If you believe that you're supposed to be right to be there, if you believe that you're supposed to be quote unquote qualified, which means the law degree and all that kind of stuff, and the person comes with it, then you tend to push them along. But if you don't want anybody to turn around and say, oh, this guy doesn't have the qualifications. So you make it to the point where you go ahead and self-govern. That's all that is. So I don't see it as a negative for us. I think it's still a guiding light for the country to follow. For if people were to turn around and look at Black folks and the way we go about selecting people based upon our integrity that we have.
except we're not intentional about it, where it becomes a known standard for how we function. It's sort of happenstance that I'm
What do
just
you
gonna
mean?
put down. What do I mean?
What do you mean by that?
I don't, I think our tendency is to tear each other down. And as soon as the white man points at there's something wrong with Alton, now I'm gonna look at Alton and agree and say, Alton, you got to step down, instead of figuring out how to rehabilitate him. Our the need for that high standard of integrity causes us to not look at the value that Alton brings and rehabilitate him.
I think that depends if on which network that is occurring in. Here's an example. I'm gonna avoid calling names because it's been a few years back and everybody has a right to a second, third, fourth chance. There was this brother, he was a member of a church I attended in Tallahassee, a very prominent church. And he's out one evening and he picks up a woman. Allegedly she's a prostitute. And his story was, it was late at night. He sees this sister out there by herself. He offers her a ride. The cops stop him and they interrogate. It gets into the news. He's married. It doesn't look good, right? Or it wouldn't look good to the entire community. But within our community, it was, I would say it was a matter of, okay, something happened. If he made a mistake, he made a mistake. But we're not throwing him out to the wolves.
That was our community?
Because we kept it internal. In other words, this has no connection to white people or any other group. As far as we're concerned, yeah, the cops stopped him, but that was about it when it came to that tangential relationship. He's in our fold. We know who he is. Let things lay low. A couple weeks later, there he is ushering. I didn't read any body language toward him that was negative. You know, it was as if, yeah, people knew what happened, but it was not worth throwing this man under the bus because his value exceeded whatever we thought happened. Now, what he told his wife and what have you, I don't know, and I don't care. That was between them. As far as I know, they're still married. But what I'm saying is,
I almost think that's so unusual, but I hear you.
Okay,
Yeah,
so let
yeah,
me
yeah,
give you
so
let me give you a name almost identical.
Wait, let me hear Mona and then
Okay,
Albert.
because I got another name. I'm gonna give a name so
All right.
that you recognize what this is about.
So that's a little different. What we mostly experience here, and I'm just talking about our local politicians. It is hard to get into politics in Tampa if the powers to be, the black powers, the so-called black leaders, don't think you're worthy enough. You don't have the credentials. And then we do get these people who they think are worthy, but will not fight, will not go against the grain. And when we should, maybe pick someone else. We've seen that on the school board. We've seen that on the city council. We've seen that on county commission.
Yeah.
Our state reps, we get these people who they think is clean enough around the collar, who's going to play the game. But look how bad we get stuck. We got left behind. We get nothing.
We get stuck with go along to get along, folks.
Yes, and that's all we have really. Now we've had that has been changing, I will say, a little. Orlando, I would say, has really pushed back a little,
because we had somebody we know that pushed his behind to push back. Otherwise, it would have been one of those.
Yes, and I believe the biggest thing is because he got pushed first. He got poked. And so he
did get poked.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
But
let me mention a name for y'all. Mayor Marion Barry.
Yes.
Washington, D.C. He's
Good
Alton,
name.
Alton almost gave his whole story.
Yeah.
Two, three,
Name.
4, 5 times. But you
Yeah.
know what? He had the backing of the people. He was
The
smart enough.
people loved him. The people
the-
loved
That
him.
was
The
true.
black folks, he could go sit and talk to somebody on the street, a wino. He could sit down with a wino, drink out of the same bottle. They
Yeah.
That was
loved
true.
him.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So,
Yes.
so when you got people like that and people recognizes you as sincere,
Mm.
then they tend to go along with you and say, hey, don't mess with that man right there. Ain't nothing wrong with what he did.
So
You
no
know?
matter what the white folks say, we got his back.
We got
Is that
him.
what
Yeah.
happened with him?
Because he was for the people. Well, he was for the people.
Yes,
He
yes.
was for the people. So they didn't care what he did personally.
But he almost did identical what Alton is talking about. The last time they got him, and this is what I didn't like about it, they had it on film, and even with it on film, they still lied because he turned down the cocaine 2 times, 3 times, because he was after the young lady.
Yes.
The young lady
Yeah.
was using the cocaine that says, I'll give it to you if you do this. And he says, why don't you let me do this? And then I'll do the
Yeah.
cocaine. You know, and so she kept on, and finally he said, okay, if this is what's gonna get me to heaven, then I'll do it. And that's when they broke in on him and accused him of having the cocaine, and it was all on video. And even with all of that information, they still try to get him, but the black community said, Marion Barry is our man. See, and that's the kind of building that you got to do if you're going to be running for office. You got to be down there with the people, talking to them, shaking hands, and
Yes.
and showing them that I'm just like you every
Yeah.
day.
That was in DC, right?
DC.
Right.
All
Yeah.
right.
I don't think most of today's black politicians have that.
No.
They don't have it.
They're not down home.
They're not down home.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You got to
down
be down. I think down home is going to save everybody.
I like that. I like that. The down home piece, and you're absolutely right. Marion Barry had it. Most of our politicians do not, Alton.
Right.
They
on
don't
it.
have it. They don't have it.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that's what you got to work with in terms of helping if we're going to do it, and stop picking people just because they got a degree or because they
Right. yeah.
got this or they went to that school. You got to say, can you relate to the people that we are going to take care of, as opposed to the money that they're going to share over here with you?
Can
Mm.
you have a backbone when it becomes necessary?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so Mona, you make a really good point, given the Marion Barry example, and then of
Mhm.
course what Alton was saying with regard to Orlando Goods, who could have been thrown out when the mayor and all of those went after him, when he was
Oh, really?
targeted, and they tried to get him kicked off the council, all of that. But he sustained because the people, and let's start with Keela,
Yes.
people got on social media and just went to those council meetings and pretty much backed him up, and he was able to sustain. And when usually they get kicked off and we are helping them kick them off,
Yeah.
but that didn't happen, which gave him backbone because he knew he had the people. Even though he might have done whatever,
Yes.
that did not matter. He had the back of Black folks. And
Yes.
that, you make a really good point.
Yeah, Goose was my boy. He seemed to be fighting when I was down in Tampa. He was always on top of or out front saying the things that
Yeah,
needed to
well,
be said.
Well, in the beginning,
He was crazy
going along
about
to get-
Goose. Goose
he
was
going along
Goose
to get
was
along.
arrogant and all his other stuff, but he's become more down home, back to where y'all at with down home and with the people,
Yeah.
much more that than he is, I know everything, you can't tell me anything. And that's where he started out. That's all.
You think he got the big head?
I thought he
Well-
had a big head.
Oh, okay.
He
Interesting.
wanted to
I
fit
didn't-
in. He wanted to fit in. He kept saying, oh, he wanted to be the mayor friend. And of course, nobody, but unfortunately, if you're fighting for us, you're going to have to stand on an island by yourself
He
almost.
made his friend, right?
And he, the people really didn't, the people was divided with him in the beginning. It was always, he was pushing back anything the mayor said, he was going along to get along. But when the mayor struck
Went
him,
Right.
and then he saw us come together, because we didn't go down there and talk to
Because
them.
Mm.
Whether we
somebody
agree with it or
accused,
not.
yeah, he got accused of harassment by one of us, in fact, by a friend or something. But Black folks stood with him, and I think that did give him a little bit more backbone, and I think he will likely do okay going forward because more of the people see him as down home one of us
Okay,
than we did a couple years ago.
good. And that's what we
So,
need.
so your examples are excellent, and it really does sort of point to a pathway for the people that we put in power.
Sure.
Yeah,
And what-
pathway, definitely, qualification. You know, like we were saying earlier, you know, we mix up degrees and sorority, fraternity memberships with qualification. That doesn't make you qualified.
Right.
In a political environment, no way, you depend on numbers to get you over the goal line. So yeah, you can, you know, hobnob at your frat and sorority meetings, you know, once a month and blah, blah. But those people aren't going to get you into office.
I
No,
don't think Santos has a degree, y'all.
Oh,
He
this
doesn't.
George dude, he probably.
Yeah,
Oh,
Well, I'm just saying,
He
frats, sororities, whatever, I don't think that matters. It's, are you for the people and are you gonna do what you say you're gonna do? So
Right.
we have about
what do you
4 more
think-
minutes.
Let me
So go
ask you
ahead.
guys, let me ask you guys one question. What do you think about him lying about being Jewish?
okay, that's
Why
okay.
is the
He could
Jewish
have.
people so upset about that? I mean, like he said his parents
No.
escaped the Holocaust and that they were Jewish.
Well, I thought I saw a quote where he said they were Jewish-ish.
Jewish-ish. That's what he said. Yeah.
Well, well, I did ancestry.com and it said
He
that
said that
I was
after-
like
He said
3%
it
Irish, so I'm Irish-ish. So folks, he's full of crap.
Yes.
They are often full of crap. He's just getting caught because the internet says you don't get to lie and get away with all that stuff
Man,
like you used
Wait a
to.
minute, but was he full of crap or the people who didn't take the time to vet him? Because that information was out there long before he got elected. They could have busted him out then. Why didn't?
Excellent point, because I do say to folks, stop looking at the politicians that they put in place and look at the people who put them in place.
Yeah, that's
That's
what you gotta
where
look at. See,
You are totally right.
they
You're right.
kept all that. They said, well, now you can do whatever you want to with it because now
Yeah.
he our man. So what are we
Yeah,
gonna do
that's
about
true.
that?
Hey, we got about 2 minutes, so I'm going to go with a what is the ask? And I think that a lot of our previous conversations, we tend to keep going down that road and solidifying the need for establishing a way of being, a very different way of being or a strategy that takes us to that pack, that group where we are buying our politicians, and I'm not sure it's even buying politicians at this point, but we are establishing a way of being that is noted and noticed, that registers with the public at large, and it's not something that we are kind of scurrying around in the background, but our politicians know that it exists and they have a standard to uphold. Mona, what is the ask?
The ask is that we get this think tank together, a super PAC, and I do not want to go into 2023. We got to do police reform. I just saw something, I think it was Monday night, and I'm like, oh, I couldn't even watch it because I do not, we got to do something about it.
Yeah, I agree. Alton, what say you?
Yeah, following up on Mona's point, and yours, the ask is the PAC. I've been thinking about that over the past 48 hours, actually. And the ask is the PAC. The ask is creating a different state of being,
Yes.
right? Or a new state, and then funding it with the money raised through a PAC and approaching political influence in a different way based on our integrity.
Yeah, I like that.
There's nothing wrong with the way we see the world. We just need to forget the way that the others see the world and say, we're here y'all been screwing up. It's time to do things differently.
Awesome, awesome. All right, close this out, Albert.
All right. One of the things that I hate to see is when people go to a basketball game wearing football shoes, and then they wonder why they lose the game. You got to know all the rules of the game, and if it doesn't require football cleats, leave them off. Put on what you need to win the game. And y'all have already said what I've been saying. We come together and find we know what the rules are. Buy the politician, tell the politician what we want, and we do it on our black term rather than on that other term that they've been doing. You know, so you
Okay.
got to learn the rules. You got to be a part of the game.
All right, all right. So I do appreciate you guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's.
And it sounds like we want to go forward with this as we perfect what it is that we're doing and our conversations become deeper. I think they are important conversations. I love talking to you, to be
Yeah,
honest with you. I look
ditto.
forward to it.
Same here.
All right, so see you guys.